million for coming. A pleasure. My name's Aidan Connelly. A pleasure for me to be here kind of Dublin this afternoon. We're going to have a few acts. Two fantastic brothers are going to play first, and then we'll have a great box player, and then myself. We have a group of fantastic young musicians, about 7 or 8 of them together, and then myself and Bryan are going to play for a while then as well. So, without further ado, I suppose I'd just like to thank Leo. I know he has to head off. Sure, just thanks for setting everyone up. And thanks to Morris on the door and everybody else. And I'll introduce you to 2 fabulous musicians from Ballydesmond, Billy and Timmy Key.
Start off with a couple of vocals. So the first one's called, we just got these from Jim Doyle, they're odd names for that. Right. Thank you very much, Seven Focus. We got them from Drogheda. We see Owen and Grace there, Jim's son and granddaughter there, out there today. Keep going on, still slides. We don't know what name the first one. Second one's called Chase with Charlie, and the last one's called Kill Come Inside. Right. you very much. We'll finish up now with a couple of reels. First one's called The Moving Bog, and we'll finish up with John Burskins. Thanks very much to Aidan for inviting us here today, and thanks to Leon Sound and everyone else. Right, you're in so.
Well done, lads. So fantastic music there from Timmy and Billy Keane, class stuff. Better hand for the lesson. Our next musician did a fantastic job earlier, leading a workshop and a session for us here from Newmarket. A brilliant musician, Owen O'Driscoll.
So, good evening everyone. I hope you're well and enjoying that brilliant music there from Timmy and Billy to start off tonight. So, I'm going to play a couple of slides anyway to start with. The first one is the Ratawan, the second one is the Hare and the Corn. Those two slides would have come from the playing of Dennis Murphy and Julie Clifford and were recorded on the Star Above the Garter album. I'll finish off that set in with Dolly's Delight, which was recorded by Dennis Murphy for an album titled Dennis Murphy, Music from Sleep Lucre. And that was a collection of his work brought out by RTE in the early 90s. So hope you enjoy these set of slides first. Thanks. Thanks very much. So I'll continue on now with a selection of three polkas. The first one is Paddy Cronin's. The second polka is from the playing of the legendary Steve Luke Buckner accordion player Johnny O'Leary, of course Bryan's grandfather. That's Eiley Buckley's Fancy, and I'll finish off then with Paddy Cronin's. So hope you enjoy. very much. So, finishing off now with a selection of reels. The first one is composed by Mick Mulcahy, the great accordion player from Brosna, the Rolling Hills of Brosna, that one's called. Then I'll go into John Brosnan's reel. Timmy and Billy played it earlier on, but I'll try it in a different key. That was composed by John Brosnan, a box player from Kilcummin, when he was about 15 or so. And then I'll finish it off with a composition of my own called the Roscommon Rambler, from where I'm from. So hope you enjoy it, and just thanks to Bryan and Aidan as well, and Massey and Leo and Timmy there and sound. So hope you enjoy the rest of the night. There's great music left, so thanks very much.
Well done, Owen there, fantastic playing, and brilliant job done on the workshop area there as well, so well done Owen for everything. So unreal standard of music so far, and the next group of musicians is no exception. So we have 7 or 8 of them. So we have Colin Fleming, Arthur and Olivia Tarrant, Grace Doyle, Mairead and Conor Clancy, Dara and Sean Deneen, and Mary and Sarah Walsh. Now, they've done great work over the last month, I suppose, or maybe 2 or 3 weeks, learning these tunes. Unfortunately, I was supposed to do an online practice with them and I couldn't make it in the end, so they've been practicing themselves. I saw them in the room earlier, so I know it's going to be a great job. So we'll put our hands together, so I've said names again, because I know that people are getting filled out of cases, so it buys a bit of time. We've Colin Fleming, Arta and Olivia Tarrant, Grace Doyle, Mairead and Conor Clancy, Dara and Sean Deneen, Mary and Sarah Walsh. A big welcome. So they're going to start off with the set jigs, the Munster jig and the Drake slide. Of that. So I think the polka for the second set. So we have the Cuban, which came from the playing of Julia Clifford, and Bridgie Con Nats, who was Julia's older sister. here are going to finish up with a set of slides. The Starbuck to Garter and the Lachine, so that's the final set of the very famous album, Julie Clifford and Dennis Murphy put out in the 1969. It's actually the album that got me into music in the first place, so I was always fond of those tunes. So Starbuck to Garter and the Lachine, so big hand for our group of Well done, lads. Fantastic stuff there. So we've Colin, Arthur, Olivia, Grace, Mairead, Connor, Dara, Sean, Mary and Sarah. Sounds like a confirmation or something here in the church. Unbelievable. I suppose this is kind of an overlap event. We've been running this Steve Lukar music trail for about a year or a little bit more now. And all of the musicians that you've seen so far have featured in those events. And there's plenty more with you as well. So there's an unbelievable crop of young musicians coming up. So you've pure evidence of that there. So it's brilliant. I suppose what I'm at on the subject of the Steve Lukar Music Trail, next Sunday, the University of Cork, the UCC Tradfest is on. And there's a great programme of events actually at that. I'll be doing a workshop, I think it's 1 o'clock on the Sunday. It'll be in the programme anyway if you look it up. But I asked them if there were kind of kids as well that wanted to see UCC, would they be welcome? And they absolutely would be. So on the Sunday, if people are free, I'll be there as well. And we'll do something in UCC, so that'd be nice if you're at a loose end. And then the 14th of February, Ballydesmond, we're having at 3 o'clock, we're having a workshop and a bit of a session as well. So the 14th of February in Ballydesmond. I put these kind of on a Facebook and in a WhatsApp group, so if there's anybody that wants to be in the loop and isn't in the loop, should just ask me, or Morris has my number or anyone, and you can get those alerts or notifications and things like that. So that's grand. I'll cease to be this MC and I'll introduce myself from Bryan O'Leary, so we're going to play a few tunes for you now. And I suppose before we do that, thanks very much to Timmy, who's taken over from Leo on the sound duties, a multi-talented individual. And we have a big hand, they'll be playing again at the end actually with us, but a big hand for all our young musicians so far. Thanks very much. Just to firstly echo what Aidan said there, it's great to hear all the fantastic young musicians performing Steve Nuclear music so well. I'm sure your parents are very proud of you, and we'll be keeping a close eye on you in the years to come, because there's a bright future ahead for all of you. And it's great as well, I suppose, that you're getting to know and learn about the legends of the area through the music. So I suppose great work done by Aidan here, and fair play to your parents as well for bringing you out to all these things. It's not an easy gig, I know, so well done to all of you. Brilliant music. Just I suppose to start there, we played two polkas. The first is called The Grows of Guinea, which is the name of our album. And I suppose the reason we opted for that name is that there's a connection to Guinea for both of us. Aidan's mother comes from Guinea village, so he's half a Guinea man, we could say. And then I suppose I come from Turin, so I have no excuse. I am a Guinea man, full stop, I suppose. And I suppose that was a name that was given to a lot of tunes by Dennis Murphy. Apparently, if Dennis was stuck for a name of a tune, he'd say, call it The Grows of Guinea. That was his get out of jail card. The second polka then
is the one that came from a manuscript of Pádraig O'Keeffe, and I suppose Pádraig is a man that's celebrated every year in Castleisland at the great festival, the Pádraig O'Keeffe Festival, and I suppose he's a phenomenal musician, because he died in 1963, but he's almost still teaching us, because every time we uncover new manuscripts of Pádraig O'Keeffe, you will learn new music. He just had an unbelievable repertoire of tunes, and like those two polkas now again are two polkas that wouldn't have been played a lot. We certainly wouldn't have heard them until they were released by the ITMA, the Irish Traditional Music Archive, and they were just waiting to be explored, I suppose, so we felt it would be a good opportunity to put them out there and record them. So we called the second polka Clowntown Cross, which of course was the townland Pádraig O'Keeffe came from. We'll continue on now with two slides which are associated with Benny Desmond, and a great female musician from the Steve Lucra area, Molly Myers. She had a very interesting story as well, because she was taught by another legendary Steve Lucra fiddlemaster, Tom Biddy Murphy. Some of you would be familiar enough with Tom Biddy and his legacy, but I suppose Molly Myers was recorded by Bryan Burnock, the great Irish music collector, and a lot of her music is still stored in the ITMA, and you can find it online through their website. But I suppose it was really the authentic music of Tom Biddy Murphy that she was bringing through. And these are two slides again, unusual tunes. I don't think they've been recorded before. Might be wrong, but I suppose you could say that they came directly from Tom Biddy. So the first one we just call Molly Myers, and the second one is The Humours of Glen Collins.
We'll play a set of reels now. The first one we would have got off a recording of Paddy Cronin, great brilliant fiddle player, Paddy Cronin from Raigwee and Guinea my favourite fiddle player of all time, I'd say. And we subsequently found out it's actually a Scottish reel composed by Johnny Cunningham. It's called Robert the Minnow. For years we were just calling it Paddy Cronin's because we weren't aware of the title. So Robert the Minnow was the name of the first reel. And the second one then, Bryan mentioned the last two tunes there were associated with Molly Myers and Brandon Brannock, great collector. It's Kyo Rink and a Hare, and there's a series of books that were brought out. And actually book 4 features music of Molly Myers and other few local musicians. And it's in that book. It's called The Old Slipper Shoe. So it was recorded by Brendan Brannock when he visited Molly Myers. So Robert the Minnow and The Old Slipper Shoe.
Thanks very much. I'll slow things down now and take a handy. I play an old waltz. This is a waltz I composed during COVID. There was a few musicians asked to, I suppose, write music in response to the lockdown, the first lockdown. We had nothing else to do, I suppose. Plenty of times walking the roads and stuff. So this is one of the tunes that I composed. It's called "Meet You on a Day That Never Ends."
we weren't sure which two melodians exact same, like but one of them was in C major and one of them was in G major, so there's a 50% chance it's the right one. Grand. So we have a pair of jigs now. Yeah, it's a version of actually off to California, you know that hornpipe. As a jig, like you recognise it anyway, hopefully. It came from a recording of Dan Leary, who was your grandfather's uncle. What's that, a great... Whatever that is, yeah. Get tongue twisted there. So I suppose we called it on the album Dan Leary's. And the second tune then is Contigos. Where did that come out?
The second one then was recorded by Johnny O'Leary on his album The Trooper. I think the lads played a jig earlier, the Drake's Lad, came from the same album as that. So yeah, it was released in 1989, Contigos. Up there, so if it was something a bit squeaky, that was my fault.
You forgot to put all the stops in.
Yeah.
We'll move on now with a set of slides. The gentleman Donald O'Leary, so Donald O'Leary was a great fiddle player and a real, I suppose, loyal servant of Steve Luker music. He lived in County Meath. His father's from Guinea-Gwilla, and yeah, he passed away, unfortunately, quite young, so I made this tune for him. So it's called The Gentleman Donald O'Leary. And the second one is also a composition by myself that for a friend, Aidan Flynn, who's a great musician from West Limerick, from Mount Collins. And it was a genius really, like the amount of great music that he composed. He was a fiddle player and accordion player. He lived most of his life in America. And I was fortunate enough to strike up a friendship with him the last few years of his life when he was back living in Mount Collins. So I call the second one A Trip to Mount Collins, just a tribute to the Dragons.
Thanks very much. We'll try a few vocals next. We're kind of going off a rough set list here, but we're trying to change it up a little bit here as well, on the spot. Put ourselves under a bit more pressure. These are three polkas, again they're on the album. The first one comes from Willie Connell from Cordal. Willie was a pupil of Pádraig O'Keeffe, and his brother Patsy Connell, or he was better known I suppose around Castle Island area as Pat Sheen Connell. He was another good fiddle player, and I suppose again they had the real authentic Pádraig O'Keeffe style. Willie Connell used to play with another fiddle player called George Collins, and they were big frequenters of Dan Connell's in Knocknagree, as well as the Shoemaker's Bar in Castle Island, where John Bruston played for many years. But I suppose they passed on a lot of Pádraig's music. And this polka from Willie came from a recording of him that was donated to the Sliabh Luachra Music Archive, which is a great resource that PJ Tehan set up. It's all on the SoundCloud app, and myself and Aidan made great use of it, I suppose, especially when we were researching music for this album. And it's a lovely little fine jam. So it's we just call it the Cordal Polka, after the place that Willie was from. The second one then has nothing at all to do with Steve Lucre. It's actually a Donegal polka, but sure we'll even have that since they didn't win the All-Ireland last year. And then the last polka then, actually we had Grace died up on stage earlier. Her grandfather Jimmy, of course, is a legend, and a couple of the lads mentioned him earlier, but Jimmy Dial was a hero of mine and a great influence on my music growing up. So there was a tribute concert to Jimmy, I think 2 years ago now at the Padraig O'Keeffe Festival, and I wrote a polka in honour of him. And I called it The Enchanted Hero, because if Jimmy saw young musicians playing well, like we saw earlier, he'd say you're an enchanted hero. That was his term. So we'll give these a lash next.
Thank you.
much. I continue on a set of reels. Yeah, it's funny at the moment. As we go through phases, I remember COVID. It was great for learning tunes. I found Christmas now was quite good as well. I learned an awful lot of stuff. Some great new albums out. Like there's John McAvoy, Jacinta McAvoy, and there's a heap of tunes composed in some of our class. And there's loads of great music out there. I learned a tune out of the Levy collection. I suppose the second tune kind of inspired the first one. The second one is a tune that Paddy Cronin somehow derived from a Turner Carlin piece, a harp piece from 300 years back called Colonel Irwin. He turned it into a reel. He found it in the book and made a reel out of it. So I always loved the tune. The first reel then came out of, there's a Levy collection. It was 1858, I think, published in London. And there's a reel in there called Captain Paddy, and it's a really strange note. And I kind of enjoyed the reel because it was so strange. So it's kind of it suits the Paddy Cronin one, I think. So try that anyway. So Captain Paddy, and then the Colonel Irwin, which was originally a harp piece but converted reel. And I might have another one after, we'll see. Thanks very much. As I said, there was no point putting another reel after two oddball reels like that. So we're going to play a set of jigs now on the, hopefully the C melodeon. And they are, what were they now? Oh yes, so Bryan mentioned earlier the Steve Lucre Music Archive that's on SoundCloud, thanks to PJT. So two jigs that we got from Willie O'Connell, also mentioned earlier. Now the first one's actually composed by a man from Tyrone called Jimmy McHugh, and he spent most of his adult life in Glasgow. There's a festival there actually called the Jimmy McHugh Festival. John Daly actually, who's a great fiddle player from not too far, he was over there this year, so the Jimmy McHugh was kind of well known over there in Glasgow. So he composed the first jig called Courtown Harbour, and we didn't find any other recording or reference to the second tune, so we'll just keep Willie O'Connell's as the name of that. Right, we'll, I suppose, make a shape towards the end. We'll play a set of slides and maybe a set of reels after that then. We'll go with the Roadster? Yeah? So, you were saying the Roadster was a nickname Penny Cronin had for Padraig O'Keeffe?
Padraig O'Keeffe, yeah. Penny Cronin said that in a program years ago. I suppose it makes sense because Padraig O'Keeffe travelled the roads, obviously in Lutra by foot. I suppose that kept him fit. It worked off the point supporter at the weekend, maybe during the week too with Padraig, but yeah, he christened him the Roadster because of all the walking he did. The second one then is a well-known Steve Looper slide, kind of known locally as Dennis Murphy's. But do you know, it's one of those slides that once you're taken to sessions at a young age, you're constantly hearing it. And I suppose just to remember the great Timmy O'Connor here from Newmarket, because when I was young, I was taken by my parents to Scully's Bar in Newmarket, and Monday night session there, and I think Raymond is here tonight, Raymond Sullivan and Timmy and Tim Brown and Paddy Scully will be back sometimes as well, and there was just always a great gathering of musicians, and Jim Barry is here tonight. So Timmy Connor was always such a gentleman with his music, and he passed on the world of tunes, and this is a tune I suppose I often had a great tune with Timmy as well above in Milltown Malbay. We was playing the West Bridge together, and this was a slide we'd always think of playing. So you'll recognise it, I'm sure. The last slide in, I suppose, again maybe goes back to Tom Biddy, because Jack Murphy was the box player we heard playing it, but Jack Murphy lived most of his life in Mourne, originally came from Currow in County Kerry, but would have been taught by Tom Biddy Murphy. So again, the chances are it would originate with Tom Biddy.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. We'll finish up there with a few reels before we'll get all the gang back up on stage for a blast of slides. The first reel was composed by a great friend of Aidan's and a great composer and musician from Mount Collins who only passed away last year, Aidan Flynn, composer of many great tunes. I know I was introduced to his music through Nicky McCall, my own teacher. Nicky used to give us a lot of Aidan Flynn's tunes, and this is a great reel called the Brustler reel. The second one then is called the Blackwater Banks, and it's a tune that again comes out of a manuscript of Padraig O'Keeffe. So actually, I think the last set, we forgot to mention that the first slide, the Roadster, also came out of another Padraig O'Keeffe manuscript, but the Blackwater Banks, and then the final tune, we call it Johnny O'Leary's Ben on Tea, because it's a version of The Woman of the House, which would be a very common reel, but it was a version my grandfather played for a Ciarán McMahon programme in the 1960s. So we'll finish with these. Thanks a million, and fair play to all the new musicians again. And we're looking forward to welcoming you back on stage after this.
Thank you.
Morris and everybody here in the Cultural, it's a fabulous venue. Thanks to Leo and later to Timmy for doing the sound. And all of ye for coming out, should there be no event if people didn't come. And our fantastic young musicians. So thanks very much for coming. And I'd like to invite all the musicians up. We're going to play the 2 slides just to round off tonight. So thanks very much again.
Just to echo what Aidan said, thanks a million to everyone for coming out. We're going to play the Rattle On, I think, in the Hair of the Corn. They might have been played earlier, but they're such good tunes we're playing again.